What is a Bandicoot anyway? Is it a mouse? Is it a chipmunk? Does anybody really know? Apparently Sony did, or else they wouldn't have made one of their most iconic video games of all time. Crash Bandicoot for the PlayStation. Well, I've covered Mario and Sonic before, and Crash Bandicoot. I think I've played more Crash Bandicoot than the other two, so I think it seems right that I come back to Crash again. As I've already referenced, Sony needed their own console mascot because Sega had Sonic and Nintendo had Mario. Sony went with the Sega approach and created a character that was targeted towards an older audience. I still find it funny that Sony is still one of the big three console manufacturers to this day because of their almost partnership with Nintendo. If you didn't know, Sony was teaming up with Nintendo to make a console add-on for the Super Nintendo to extend the console's life. Well, I guess Nintendo was satisfied with the Nintendo 64's progress because they decided to end the project, but the disc technology that Sony was working on turned into the PlayStation. I just think it's funny and one of those history-changing decisions that you have to wonder what would have happened if the partnership went the other way. But back to the game of question though. This is a 3D platformer. I say 3D because it's a little bit of a controversial subject. Most of the levels are designed to be played in a hallway or corridor. While most aren't actually indoors in hallways, they're just very narrow levels. I'd say it's more of a 2D platformer with a 3D art style, and I often hear that as a knock against the Crash Bandicoot games because of the constant comparison to Mario 64, but I really don't find issue with it. I think it's more of an immature argument. I mean, 2D platforming still has a place in gaming, and I like it. Another thing people complain about with the Crash Bandicoot games are the levels where you run towards the camera and you can't really see where you're going. I've never really had an issue with that. I mean, you gotta take some indirect clues of where you should be going, and I don't think I died on the boulder levels at all. I will say this game does get a little bit crazy with the free lives. You can get a free life from collecting 100 Wumpa fruit, which isn't too hard to get, but the levels also give you free lives in boxes, sometimes in groups of 2 or 3. I just think it's a little bit too much. But let's just appreciate how incredibly easy Crash Bandicoot is to control. Just using the D-pad and the jump button, there aren't really too many maneuvers that you can't do in the game. And can we just take a little bit of time to appreciate the hog riding stage? It's one of my favorite video game levels of all time. And this game just also has character. When you die in different situations, Crash dies in different ways. If you land on fire, you get burned to ashes. If you get blown up by TNT, then the only thing that's left is Crash's eyes and feet, which is just a small detail, but it makes the game all the more entertaining. I'd also like to praise the boss battles for being unique. They're not hard whatsoever, though. I feel as though they could have turned the difficulty up a teeny tiny bit on the boss battles, but they're certainly more unique than other platformer boss battles at the time, and the bosses themselves have been staples of the Crash series ever since. I'd say the only major issue I have with the game is the saving system. I feel like it's a common theme with the Crash Bandicoot games on this channel, but I'll at least give this series the benefit of the doubt since I've only reviewed one other Crash Bandicoot game so far. So you need to access these bonus levels, which I can gain access to fairly frequently, but it's not a guarantee. But you get into one of these levels and you have to beat the bonus level without dying, which again is fairly easy, but they load these levels up with free lives and Wumpa fruit that you play dangerously and you don't make it through. Why can't I just save the game when I want? It won't even generate a password unless I beat the bonus level. Another smaller complaint I have with the 2.5D platforming style is that when a level is strictly 2D, why can you fall off the front of a level? Why do these levels have 3-dimensional abilities in the first place? All I'm trying to do is go left and right. I don't want to go forward and backwards. Sometimes on the D-pad I mistakenly go forward and backward. I don't think I should be penalized with a death for that. Now that I think about it, this might be my least favorite Crash Bandicoot game for the PlayStation. I did have 5 of them growing up, but this is more of a testament to how great the other games are and not necessarily how bad this one is, because this is a good game, but this game only walked so that future games could run. Since I finally have 10 PlayStation games under my belt, I have a PlayStation top and bottom 5, and Crash makes it to number 2. Tony Hawk is just a little bit more replayable, and Crash is still one of the best platformers on the PlayStation, but I know for a fact that later Crash games are better than it, so that's why it's 2. Well, I don't really have any witty comments to make this time at the end, so hope you enjoyed watching. I'll start work on Review 39 soon. See you then.